When you're sub 1 million and everything is a priority, how do you build a blueprint for the year to execute and grow appropriately? One of the things that I love about home service in general is that almost all of your problems are going to come down to average ticket and lead flow. I remember last year, our business had grown a lot, and like recruiting salespeople. We were hiring and we were trying to find like the right human beings to bring on board. And I remember talking to a few people, like one was in HVAC sales, I think one was plumbing. We kept finding that the problem was still lead flow and sales, like consistently. I think most of the blueprint, the thing to always focus on is what's lead flow and what's sales, and how do you continually improve those things? And how do you make the vast majority of your efforts focused on lead flow and sales? And that's something that doesn't seem to go away. I've talked to people smaller than us. I've talked to people 5 times my size, and everything consistently comes back to those two things. Like, I'll give one more comment on this one, which was, I'm in this like group chat with a bunch of other CEOs, and somebody asked the question like a month ago, and it was like, what's the real business that you're in? If this part of your business didn't work, your business would fail. And like the reality is, for me, is I'm in the sales and marketing business. Like, that is what we do. And it just further pushes that point. So I don't think all the way up to $1 billion, I don't think it becomes anything other than, so that's the blueprint. What competitive advantages does a small operation under $1 million have over an established operation for recruiting? Another version of the question that they put in is, why would a tech choose to work for Jack, my podcast co-host, over Hiller, which is one of Jack's competitors? This is a tough one. I think two things come to mind here. I want to first speak to the mentality of the question. I think a lot of people, myself included, believe that smaller operators are at a disadvantage. Does not mean that they're at a permanent disadvantage. It's just that they literally are at a disadvantage. And we have to embrace that. Just like I'm at a disadvantage if I was competing against a $100 million shop, someone else smaller than me is at a disadvantage compared to me. My pay is better, my benefits are better. Makes sense. Just like Chris Hoffman's pay and benefits is better than mine. That's a problem that never goes away. There's no scaling out of that issue. And I'm saying that because I don't want people to think that there's an excuse here. Because the issue can never be scaled out of, you have to figure it out. I find things that, like, when a problem is never going to go away, I actually kind of like that, because then there's just no excuse. Like, you just have to do it. So as far as what competitive advantages, the big things that we hear from candidates when they're looking for smaller is one of two things. So the first one is, I want to make an impact. That comes up more than you'd think. People want to be the big fish in the pond, like they do. And they want to be the winner. They want to be the big dog. We actually had somebody leave our company about a year ago for that reason. He went from a top performer to a middle performer, and he really didn't like that. So he ended up going to a smaller shop, worse pay, worse benefits, for kind of like ego a little bit. But I mean, people want to be winners. So they want to make an impact. And two, potentially the more obvious, is less structured. That's a good way of putting it. A bad way of putting it is less accountability. So in a bigger company, like, you're micromanaged, like everything is measured. It takes a real adjustment for people from a smaller shop coming here, because we have to explain, like, hey, we're a big company. And the reason that we're big is because we care about everything. Like, we care about every conversation with that homeowner. We care about your average ticket. We care about your number of options. We care about all the things. We measure all the things. So sometimes that just rubs people the wrong way. Like, they're just not a good fit for it. So it's usually one of those two things that people end up at a smaller shop. So they can make a bigger impact, or they can be the big fish in the pond. And a bigger impact could be good. I'm talking with a manager right now who would be coming from a larger shop, which is uncommon for us. And he wants to make a bigger impact, which in this case is really good. Like, we want him to make a bigger impact. So that's a win. Thanks for tuning in to Owned and Operated, the podcast for home service entrepreneurs.